Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 62nd episode of Concerned Dabs podcast. I'm your host, Katie M. Kane. Our guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen, she is the owner of the Herb Shoppe PDX. She is a successful businesswoman. She is on top of her game and still open, you know what I mean? Handling her business through this crisis in the country right now. Her name is Amanda Furbee. We are happy to have her on the show tonight. Amanda, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, awesome. Dude, yeah. So, um, we talked a little bit before we went live, and I used to I resort to my little cookie cutter regular podcast questions sometimes, but I like freestyling it. I haven't talked to you in a real long time, so it's nice to hear that your business is still doing okay and you're still open. Um, I don't want to speak for you too much. I just, can can you tell us about how you got started into, the profession or trade that you're in, and then what made you wanna push it so far as to owning a retail store, and doing all that? 'Cause it takes a lot of ambition, and it takes a lot of hard work, and most humans, let alone women, just don't have that to succeed in that manner. So, so can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Really, in a nutshell, it was kind of a leap of faith. I lived on the East Coast and was doing design work and was just not passionately in love with what I was doing. It was
Like
something I
graphic
could.
design?
Interior architecture actually is what I was doing, and kind of
Nice.
dabbled in several areas of design. And tried all kinds of different, avenues of that and just was like, okay, like this is something I could do and I do it pretty good, but like it doesn't like put that fire in me like I want for something that I'm gonna do for my whole life. And
Yeah.
um, I was living in North Carolina, but then I went back to New Mexico for the winter and was kind of like regrouping and what's my next steps. I was looking at the Peace Corps, I was looking at grad school, and it really kind of boiled down to like, I really want to be my own boss. Like I really want to do something that is going to be inspiring and always be a necessity in all aspects of my life. It even boiled down to me analyzing, if money didn't exist, like what's really important and what's something that is needed, throughout the world all the time. And it boiled down to herbal medicine, which was kind of a wild, whatever to get to that point in my life. But there was an herb shop in New Mexico that I visited that had some really great, plants that helped me with what I was going through and just trying to like be grounded and trying to figure out what, like what is my next steps? Like, where am I? I was right in the middle of my Saturn return and just like, I went to school for all these things. I should be doing that, trying to break my thought process and training as far as, what I'd been taught that I should do versus like what my gut and my intuition was telling me that I needed to do. And
Bro, I
um,
can relate to that so much, man. I feel like I had to delete so many files in my brain that were, running scripts, you know what I mean, for how I'm supposed to do things, and I had to delete those and write my own, and it's,
yeah, I
it
felt like when I like
it's
finally
not
caught
just
the herbal medicine
it's
bug,
fam it's
you're
family, yeah, it's family too. It's not just education and what you paid for
yeah,
school and everything, you know what I mean?
totally is,
It
we have all this stuff imprinted on us our whole lives, and then we get to a point where we go, but wait, like is that like really me, and is that actually what I want and how I want to live my life?
Yeah, man. Fucking A, dude, serious.
So when I was in New Mexico, I was like, oh, okay, like I need to open a wellness property. Like I know nothing about any of this. Like why is this what I need to do with my life? It was just such a direct message that I got. I couldn't deny it, like I absolutely could not deny it. And so I started researching places that really catered to herbal medicine because that was something that I knew absolutely nothing about. And even when I was in graduating high school and things like that, like I remember vaguely hearing that this is maybe something you could do, but not thinking that there was like a real true like path with that. And
Yeah, like,
Um,
how do you make it pay you, man, you know?
yeah,
Like, that's
totally.
because that's
And
I can I interject for 1 second? When I
totally.
met you, I was working at Kings of Cana, right? And,
Hmm.
when you told me about your shop, I was like, "Holy shit, I used to manage the farm shop, and we would get phone calls for you guys, and I'm sure you guys got phone calls for us sometimes." And it was
Yeah.
like it was a farm shop or the herb shop, and so it just in people's heads when they search it or they hear it from a homie, I feel like that's just how it happened, but when I met you when I was at Kings of Cana, you told me you owned your shop, and I was like, "Oh, I remembered that," and we talked about that, and then, you told me that I'm like, "Do you guys sell weed?" And you're like, "No," and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And it's like, "No, it's just like the wellness herbal type products," and I'm like, "How much do you pay your employees?" And you're like, "Man, 15 an hour." And that was like way back in 2015, so I was just like, "And you're paying a living wage and it's not weed," you know? I'm like, I just, I was completely flabbergasted and blown away, man, because every single weed person I worked for was 10 to 12 an hour, unless I was trimming, sometimes I could get 20 because I was fast, but, uh it just it was cool to meet someone who was successful in an avenue that I didn't know was making money, and you're also breaking bread with your employees, which I think is cool. Oh, looks like her video is frozen. Can you still hear us? Can you leave the call and come back, Amanda? Leave the call, come back. Red button, then camera button. All right. Maybe my video will pop up on her end this time when she leaves and comes back. Yep, looks like it went. Oh, yeah, there she goes. Now she should come back. Circle is spinning.
Oh, I can hear you. Woo!
All
And I can see
right.
you. Amazing.
Dope. Dope. We're good. We're good. We're cool. I was just explaining to everybody about how you told me when I was making 12 an hour that you were paying your employees 15 and I was working in cannabis. So I really wanted to jump ship and come learn what you know about your game, you know what I mean? And see if I could apply that to my weed game too, because it just seemed like you do have this wealth of knowledge that you've been able to turn into dollars also, you know, without being greedy, which is fucking rare in this world, god damn it, you know?
It's
So
it's true. It's a labor of love for sure. I mean, it's a labor of love in a way that hopefully we can, provide a good living, but not be greedy about it. Like it's definitely something that um it has had lots of lessons within like being a business owner and learning how to support the community and like give back as much as possible. But also, be able to support ourselves.
yeah, dude. Yeah, it's rough in Portland, and I think you're in a primo place for what you're selling too, dude.
Totally, and cannabis is what got me really into herbal medicine. Like long before I ever dove into any other herbs, it was cannabis that I was like, oh, I feel the creativity that I get from this. Like I'm aware that there's a lot of, wealth of, knowledge and magic and all
Yeah.
kinds of things that were going on that I didn't even really quite fully understand until I dove into the herb shop.
Yeah. So, like, how did that start? Did you get, like, a wellness garden in New Mexico first, or, like, what was the next step in the process?
Yeah, no, I actually started researching places in the United States and like just kind of Google searching, like, where do I go to learn this kind of stuff? Like, what is like this is stuff that's passed down from like ancestral knowledge. Like, do I need to go like work in the jungle? Do I need to like what do I
Some of the
do?
eh
Like,
some of those workshops are bullshit too, you know what I mean? It's like you have to sift through what's legit and what's not.
yeah, you do. You definitely have to find like what's real and what's not real and and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Like there's some things that took me a long time to understand and fully get a grasp on that there is really good medicine in it, even though I was like, oh, this seems like it's just like weird hocus pocus stuff. Like, what is this? Like I'm here for the
Yeah.
medical knowledge. I don't want to know that. But at the same time, like over the years, I've definitely, learned to love and learned to appreciate and understand on a different level. So that's, you know, that's herbalism is a life journey. It's not something you're going to learn everything overnight or in 10 years. I mean, I've been doing this 10 years. So, anyways, long story short, like I found the herb shop online when I was in New Mexico
Uh-huh.
and just was like, I need to go there. Like, I don't know why. Like, I just need to go there. And so I booked a flight out here and sent the original owner of the shop a message and just said, hey, I just need to kind of like talk to you. I feel like I need to open a wellness property of some sort, but I don't know anything about herbs, like where to even get started with that. And so flew out here, met with her. She offered me a job like right away. So I was like, oh, okay, this is where I belong. Like I
Yeah.
mean, instantaneously, like walking into that place was like, this is what has been with me through lifetimes. This is knowledge that I already have that's in me. I just have to relearn it. That was cool.
Y yeah, genetic memories, they call that, man. Yeah,
Big time.
dude. Yeah, man, and, same, like, that's the best way for me to learn too. Cause some homies, I'll tell them what I'm gonna do this weekend, it sounds dumb, but it's like I'm trying to learn something from this guy, and, it's like, "What, is he paying?" It's like, "Nah, I volunteered, man, I'm trying to go check it out," like,
Yeah,
and
and I
and
did. I volunteered a lot of my time at the shop the first, few years. I just wanted to learn it. And, the first 6 months there, my brain just hurt every single day when I left there, trying to learn the Latin names. And, every customer that comes to the door has a different thing that they are trying to sort out, whether it's emotionally or physiologically. And you're just like, okay, like, let me like dive into this. I can't even pronounce half of these words, but I'm just gonna like dive in and try to figure it out. My brain just it hurt for like 6 months. And then it was like, oh, okay, like I think I've got this.
yeah, because I'm sure too that some of the like, the Latin terminology is relevant to what it's supposed to treat as far as ailments, you know what I mean? So,
There's
like,
definitely
that's
some of that. And it's also so important to know that because no matter where you go in the world, the Latin words, Latin, terminology of those plants are what you can communicate with, like
Mhm.
if you're going to go, anywhere in the world, if you have that Latin name, there's so many common names for plants that it's it's challenging to like go somewhere and say I want dandelion, but maybe they don't call it dandelion. But if you know the Latin name of that, they may know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, man, can you talk about dandelions for a
Yeah,
second?
I can
Like,
totally talk about
you
dandelion.
can you can 'cause it was a jungle when I got here, and I started hacking away at it with my electric mower a couple weeks ago, but, there's still some dandelions out there, and I'm like, "Man, I think I can eat those,
You
like
can
the
definitely
stem or
eat
something,"
them.
and
Yeah, they're delicious. Like I mean, every part of that plant is a usable plant, and whether it's the roots or the leaves or the flowers, like there's medicine in all of it, and there's nutrition in all of it as well. I actually just, recently last week did dandelion nettle pesto on a video, and it's so
yeah.
delicious. Like you take it and you can do anything with it. If you want to just eat it by itself, it's still delicious. But if you want to like cook it with, any of your meats or vegetables, or whatever, like just throwing it in there adds so much flavor. And a big part of what I've learned through herbalism is that food is medicine. And so, like, why do we need to necessarily separate the two of those? Like, why aren't they something that we do and that we have in our daily like rituals of what we eat, what we put in our body? What we
I
put in our
agree.
body is what we get back, right? So, but
Yeah.
with the dandelions, I think that there is a large surplus of plants all over the world that are very readily needed. And I think that is one of the reasons why we have so many dandelions. Like
I
they're,
I feel the same way, like, it's like they're there for a reason, you know what I mean? I feel like if people ate those, they might feel a little bit better, and there's like
yeah,
there's a whole industry based on eradicating that fucking plant alone from your
I
fucking lawn, you
know.
know what I mean? And I'm
Trust
like,
me,
"Dude,
it's my
it's"
biggest battle is like, "Don't kill the dandelions," like, "Let's
Yeah.
save the dandelions." But,
Yeah.
nettles too, like, stinging nettles are such an awesome plant. I mean, here in
You
the
can eat
Pacific Northwest. Oh,
you
yeah,
can
they're
eat those?
delicious. Yes.
I got
You can
I got
saute
those on
'em.
my leg when I was 8 years old at my katz's house in the summer, and holy shit, it fucking hurt. I've never felt that
You'll know.
before, and it
You'll
fucking
know.
hurt bad. Yeah, man.
They're called stinging nettles for a reason and for sure, so
Yeah.
yeah, they
Yeah.
are, like, they're packed with iron, they're packed with vitamins and minerals, so, like, you're getting all that nutritional value to it, but then, they're so amazing for things like seasonal allergies. They're just, a good boost to your system, and they're yummy. I mean, saute them, put them in your nettle pesto, like, make some tea with it, whatever you want, like, don't pass up the nettles. They're good, and even the stinging property of them is really fascinating. I've
I
heard of
Is there
several herbalists.
medicine in that? Like, will
There
that help
is,
if you
there
boil
is
it
like
or process it or something?
if you use it fresh, actually, like if you have, like, let's say you have joint pain in your knees or something like that, you can take the stingers and like apply it to your knee or wherever you have inflammation, and it helps to reactivate, what the inflammation that's going on in there and help to move it forward. So that way, it reduces that pain. And it's such a strange concept to take that stinging property, but it's incredible whenever you start using that in so many
Word.
different forms.
Yeah,
Mhm.
manipulating the nerves without, fucking with your receptors, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
know a guy
that's
that is a
deep.
well-known
That's deep,
herbalist
yo.
here, and he tore his ACL in his knee while he was hiking, and he was like 6 miles away somewhere, in the middle of nowhere. And he took that and used that to, like, gets back wherever he was going. And he tells this story in a lot of his classes that he teaches, because he literally like rehealed his knee and did not have to have surgery on his knee because he took that stinging nettle and just kept, re taking that inflammation and, stinging it with the nettles. And I'm like, what? Like, that's amazing to hear somebody that I
Uh,
actually know and that happened to them and it worked.
yeah, dude. Yeah, it's weird. Like, some of the I'm like yeah, you hear homies tell stories, and it's like, "Holy shit, really? Okay,
Yeah.
try it,"
I
you
mean,
know?
all
It's like
plant medicine is kind of that way. I feel like a lot of folks, I mean, myself, my family, like people that come into the shop, there's always this question of like, but does this actually really work?
yeah,
And I do think that we have to reshape how we think about medicine. It's not like we're looking for a pill to take to like take the pain away. We're like, okay, like what organ in the body is this actually affecting? And so, how do I treat that organ that therefore is going to long term heal the body? And you know, it's beautiful medicine for sure.
yeah, man. It's, all based on the systems working together too, and not just treating this one system or this one symptom, my bad. Systems instead of symptoms.
Right.
Y
Like, don't put a
yeah,
band-aid on it. Let's get to the root cause of this and like
y
really talk about that and figure out what's going on. And if I do a consultation, people are, coming to me and they're like, "Oh, I got headaches." I'm like, "All right, cool. Like, let's talk about your diet. Let's talk about your wellness habits. Let's talk about your lifestyle and like how much stress you have in your life." Because so you start putting all of those pieces together, then you just taking something and using a band-aid is never going to get rid of it. But when you start actually getting to that root, you can go, all right, like let's do some baby steps to start changing your lifestyle and your patterns that are going to affect this long term.
yeah, dude. Yeah, the naturopathic medicine route is the ticket. My sister became a physical therapist, and when I lived in AZ, I stayed with her for the first couple months because she had a guest room until I got my own place, but we would have combos kinda like this about, like how, she played basketball, right, all through high school and college, and she always had bad knees or ankles, and she would always take ibuprofen, and it was just the side effects of that on her stomach, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The stomach lining and all that, it would just it was bad. It took her a while to heal up from that and figure out that that was, you know, what was causing it and try to come and that's how she went to a naturopathic doctor for I
Mhm.
can't remember what the treatment was. It was some kind of tea or something, you know, and it made her feel better, you know, and I was just like she would just like, "Man, I should have went to school to do this." Like, you
Yeah,
know,
right?
she's
I
like,
know, I feel the same way, like, man, if I would have known that this was something you could do whenever I was looking at career paths and things like that, I probably would have beelined it straight there, you know?
"Yeah, yeah." For real, if cannabis was as popular and legal as it is right now when I graduated from high school, I would have had a much easier route to where I'm at right now, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I
and,
had to I
and
had to get
cannabis
it.
is so amazing, like, it's so
It
incredible, and we're
is.
just, like, really tapping into it, and, it's interesting being an herbalist and, like, not being able to really have, you know cannabis in the shop like like you do at a dispensary,
Yeah,
and like, but I know how strong and powerful it is, and how you can get something that gives you energy, or you can get something that makes you really tired, or you can get
yeah,
something that just like numbs your pain, like so
yeah,
much we're learning.
yeah, and creativity too. I like when you talked about that in your earlier days because that was something that I noticed as a kid too, is like, dude, I can freestyle rap when I'm smoking weed, you know what I mean? Like, I can write some really ill shit too, so it just, it was the level of focus and creativity when I was in that zone. It's like, "Whoa."
Yeah, and I also think that it's like it is a very strong plant. So it's one of those plants that it's really obvious when you don't need to use it. Like the more you dive into like plant medicine and like the energetics of a plant, like a plant will tell you, like, all right, I need to use this plant right now because my body needs this, or like maybe you need nettles because you need iron or whatever it is. Like the more in tune you get with that, and cannabis is such a strong plant. Like even in my personal experience, I've used it years and years and years in multiple ways, whether it was like I'm just hanging out with my friends having a good time, to like I need this as my daily medicine to like
Yeah,
get me through and to stay focused and to stay grounded. And in the last few years it's like shifted to where like it actually was giving me anxiety for a minute, and I was
yeah,
like, whoa, all right, cool, like I need to take note of this. I need to like understand what my relationship is with this plant because it's completely shifted,
yeah.
and I still love it and it's amazing, but I don't need it as a daily medicine like I did need it for a long time. It was my ally 100%, and really helped me do what I do, as an herbalist.
No doubt. Like a month ago, I applied for a job at the Coeur d'Alene Casino as a security guard. I applied for the audio visual job, but they didn't give it to me. They gave me the security job one. So, um, I had to quit smoking for a week to pass the UA. Usually I'd holler at a homie with some clean piss, but I'm in Washington, it's a rec state, so most of the homies smoke, you know, so I'm like,
Yeah,
it's like what
be
I
kind of hard to find that
yeah,
there.
so I quit for like a week, 10 days and just drank water and I was okay, you know, I didn't freak out, I didn't, you know, I didn't have a panic attack or anything, I was okay, and it made me that tolerance break too made me smoke less now, you know, it's like I've smoked way less. I still smoke every day, Amanda, I'm not gonna say
Yeah,
that, but
I
I
do
don't
too, but it's not like I need it all day long.
no, yeah, no, I gotta go and do some work, and I'd rather not be super baked because I can move faster.
Well, and like the strains are so, potent now. Like I find that I'm like, I don't really need something that's that strong. Like I just need like a little something, every
Yeah,
once in a while, and that's great. And but I don't need something that's just gonna flat out and knock me out.
yeah, I dig that hemp shit too, dude, like, smoking a joint of that because it looks just like cannabis, you know, regular nugs,
Mhm.
it's CBD, and it even you can get cherry, it's cherry terps in there, or it's lemon terps, and it you feel up, and it's like, cool, like, I'm you know, I'm very clear and very focused, and I didn't consume the other compound, but this compound is also doing me well, and just a different use
Yeah.
for a different situation. Because that was I was always an indica guy once I learned the difference, but as time went by, it's like, nah, I can use these sativas too for certain
See,
situations.
I'm the total opposite. I'm like sativa all the way, like which most people that know me know that I don't need a lot of energy, but like it was totally my jam. Whereas indica would just knock me out. It would kind of
Y-
like mess with my emotions a little bit, and I was like, okay, this is not the right thing for me. Like I need that sativa that's just gonna keep me up, running around the house and organizing or creating, whatever formula or whatever. Like that's good for me.
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, that's man, that's how I would try to be a salesman too, at the shop. It's like, hey man, I like what I like. Your personal chemistry is gonna be different. So whatever you're into, we got something here I can sell you for
Totally.
sure.
It's going to be
Yeah.
really awesome to see like what we do with cannabis and other plants. Like this is, I feel like we're really just kind of starting to dive into that. And for me, like that's always been part of my vision is that, cannabis should not be like a separate entity. It should be part of all the plants. It should be, something that is incorporated with, the other plants that are going to help with the nervine system or like let's take passion flower and skullcap and maybe kava and mix that in together and make like this really
Yeah.
amazing,
If it does go federally legal, I really want everyone to be able to grow their own, and I
yeah,
really I wanna get into breeding, so sell seeds,
that's
you know what I
awesome.
mean?
You gotta
So
let me know when you do that because I really, really want to name a strain. That's on my bucket list is to like
oh,
name a
yeah.
strain. So,
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
yeah,
If you have 2 in mind, it's like maybe cross those 2 that you like the most or something, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And
We
then
actually
yeah.
just got our first weed plant to plant in the yard, which is really exciting. And so I'm
Dope.
excited to like kind of baby it and see what to do with it. And, like it's out there with all my other plants, my St. John and my mugwort and whatever. Like, let's see what you got.
Fuck yeah,
So,
that's tight, man. Shout out to Oregon, man. I miss selling those clones too, because people would be really hesitant. Like, man, I don't know. I don't know. I'm like, bro,
yeah.
it ain't nothing to it but to do it, man. Fucking dirt, sunlight, and water. Like that's all you need. Just make sure it's
Right? Like
got
we're
those
so
3 things.
afraid of this plant though. We're so afraid of like, what do we do? What if I ruin it? What if it grows like 7 feet tall? Then what do I do? But it's a plant. So
Yeah, yeah, it'll be okay. As it
mhm.
just it's gonna get cold in September, so when you start seeing mold, take it down, man.
Take it
Take it down.
down,
You
right?
never
That's what
know.
I've always heard.
Yeah.
Like when it starts raining, just take it down.
Yeah, there's been times where I tried to extend it a week or 2, and it's like I could have spent this taking these down and had less mold in the end. So,
Yeah.
light deprivation, that's another technique too, is to light dep it, cover it with a tarp over a hoop house of some sort at 7 o'clock at night instead of 8, and then it'll
Oh,
bloom
interesting.
in when you tell it to in July instead of the end of July, August, or something like that. So
Awesome. I'll have to like hit you up when we start like getting to that point for sure.
anytime, man. Anytime,
Yeah.
man. I'm here as a resource to all the homies, man. And you've definitely gave me a lot of knowledge on like not just herbalization stuff, but just also business stuff too. Like you got me a couple of meetings with folks from breweries and other places to, look at my cannabis rec license plan. So I appreciate you for that, Amanda.
Yeah.
That means a lot,
But,
man.
like y'all once we find our passion, like learning to be a business owner is a whole nother step, like I love being a business owner for a lot of reasons, but I feel like when you are a business owner, you learn really quickly like what your weaknesses are, like that's what a business does is it puts it in your face and you go, oh crap, I guess I need to work on that part of my life, and so each journey is different, but it's cool to take like my previous background in design and like merge it with herbalism and all of my weird career things that I've had in the past, and that's what really grows your business is like when you first start out, like you got to do it all yourself. You got to figure it out. You got to take one step at a time and be, somewhat of an expert in each one of those fields, whether it's funding or whether it's, learning how to use your point of sales or doing doing social media or whatever it is. Like you got to get your hands dirty and figure it
Yeah,
out and screw it
yeah.
up. Like that's part of it. Like you're not gonna get it right like all the time. Like probably screwed up everything at least 3 times before I got it right, you know?
Hell
So,
yeah, dude. Yeah, I had some bad years outdoors in Oregon, man, you know, like, really bad, so it's
mm,
it is. You can't be afraid to fuck up if you're gonna take that leap of faith, is what
yeah.
I tell folks, dude, like, "You're gonna
Yeah,
lose, bro.
absolutely.
Nobody has a perfect
And
record, man."
nope, and you just, like, pick it up and you keep moving forward and you learn from those mistakes and, talking to every person you can, networking is probably, like, the biggest part of being a business owner is you're continuing to network. You're continuing to, like, learn from people or be like, "Oh, this person's really good at this, like, how do I work with this person?" Because why would I waste, like, 7 days of my life trying to figure out something that they know in 5 minutes?
Yeah, and he probably needs help this weekend, you know what I mean? And he probably fucking would like to express what he's doing to someone who is eager to learn, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
absolutely.
that's
I
the whole
mean,
networking thing it's crucial, dude, like, I don't care how different or opposite of a lifestyle someone is to me, it's like, "Nah, man, we're interested in this. If you need help, dude, like,
yeah.
hit
Well,
me
and it's,
up."
it's always interesting as soon as somebody is, well, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm an herbalist. And then they're like, oh, you sell weed? And I'm like, no, like I'm an herbalist. Like I work with all kinds of plants, like I love weed, but no, like that's actually like not what I do, And so then it opens this beautiful door for people to go like, what the heck is an herbalist? And like, what do you mean you take St. John's or like echinacea or valerian or whatever, Like it's cool to get that light bulb moment, we get that a lot at the shop where people are just kind of at their wits end, like they're like, "Ah, I've like haven't slept in, 6 months or whatever it is. And like I've taken everything that has been given to me by every doctor and every this, that, and the other. And then you're like, here, just how about some valerian? Why don't you give this a shot? And they go, what's that? And they leave and they come back. I mean, I will never forget this one guy. He just came like running in the shop. There was probably 10 other people in there. He's like, I just want you to know, like, I slept last night and it was amazing, and you're like, awesome. Like, that's so cool, like, I
Yeah,
love that, I love that people are
it
just like,
is.
like, wow, if that one plant worked for me, like, it's definitely that light bulb moment where they're like, what else can I do with plants? So,
Yeah, y serious, dude, serious. One guy that was hip on that too was Nipsey Hussle, and that Dr. Sebi guy, like, that was a big conspiracy theory surrounding his death also, but I was like, "Oh, man, it's like Amanda does that same shit, dude," you know what I mean? Yeah, he'll heal you up with some herbs, but like, can you
but,
talk about the salesmanship of it too? Because you can't it was like that with cannabis, like, I couldn't say, "This will treat insomnia," like,
oh,
I
yeah.
had to be like,
Oh, yeah.
"This helps me go to s when I smoke this, I get tired and crash out," is how I'd have to say it, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
It's a tricky industry as far as like what you can say and what you can't say, like you can't
yeah,
claim
FDA approval and
anything.
such.
Yeah, like FDA approval is a really weird and tricky thing when you like start diving into all that, like now that we make so many products and things like that, we're having to like learn all the ins and outs of FDA and how to stay like in alliance with that. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of paper trail, paper trail, track this, track this, track this. Like, where did this go? All right.
Yeah,
What went in here? Is this actually echinacea? Like you have to get your suppliers to be able
yeah,
to prove that this
lab
is echinacea.
test,
Yeah, for real.
yeah,
And it's,
'cause that's
it's sorry.
That's something I learned too, is, like, most of the honey that I think is honey or the maple syrup that I think is maple syrup is actually fucking not, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And
You
I'm
gotta
like,
read
and
those
if
labels.
the real shit costs twice as much because it came
Oh
from the
yeah.
actual source
The good
and
thing of maple syrup is definitely not cheap. So,
yeah, as an Instacart shopper, I've been noticing, like, most people pay for that $20 one, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, they order that
Mhm.
little brown jug looking organic one is what they buy, and it's like,
Yep.
"This
And
must
if
be
you
the
look at
good
the
kind."
ingredients of the others, it's just like sugar and food coloring, and you're like, "What? Like, what is that? That's not maple syrup."
Yeah. Yeah, well, like, so what after you started working at the herb shop in Portland, like, what was the next step after that? Because I feel like when I met you, you were in some sort of transition period where there was ownership changing hands, and it
Yep.
just seemed like you were really proud, and whoever the other lady, she wasn't salty, but there was just a vibe, like, she was like, God, like, she was really letting something go that she loved, you know what I mean? But
Totally, and I definitely
it
think
seemed
that
like a
that
Jedi Padawan type moment or something when I
Mhm.
was in the store that day, you know?
Like when I got to the shop, it was so like bizarre to me that you were just like, okay, like this is like what I need to do. This is where I need to go. I mean, within like 2 months, my brain was just like the wheels were spinning. Like, I want everybody to have an herb shop in every city. I want this to be accessible for everyone. And so I like kind of took my background with design, and I had done, a lot of like analytics at the last design company that I worked for. And just started kind of putting the pieces together of like, how do I grow this company? Like I think I was brought here to to do this. Like I didn't know even at that point that I was going to be an owner, or I didn't really know what my role was. But within a couple of months, I had taken like several business classes and started trying to develop a business plan. And I was like, all right, like this is where I'm supposed to be. So I, started talking
Yeah.
to the owner and was like, you know, if you're open to partnering, this is something that I think I want to do. And so, within the first year of me being there, we were talking about like, how do we grow this company? What do we need to do? At that point in time, we had two shops. And then so I started 10 years ago in 2010. And then in 2014 became a partner, and
Dude,
opened the
that's
Mississippi
tight.
location.
That's tight, dude. Like, that's
Mhm.
man, if I had an applause button right now hooked up, I'd hit the applause button, you know what I mean? Like, it's, that's something to be, commended for, man, like, good for you. Like, 4 years in, do partner. Oh, it looks like yeah, your video cut. Man, can you leave the call and come back again? Like, that's our usual workaround when mine's crapping out too. Yeah.
Hey there.
Yeah, I'm here, I'm here.
All right, sweet. So yeah, but so 2014, I decided, or we decided, like, hey, we really need like a production space, like more than anything. Like, we want to grow this company and really do this the right way. Be able to provide medicine, on a larger scale and a more professional scale. Like, we need a production space, and so that is why the Mississippi location was originally opened. And
Okay.
then
Does that mean, like buying stuff by the bale or the 50-pound thing and then putting into it like, packaging it for the store or for use so that people don't have to process it themselves? Or, like, what do you mean by production, man? Like, that's my
Yeah,
question.
so we have a licensed agricultural kitchen in the back of the retail.
Ah,
And so like we
dope.
we produce like a whole product line. I mean, we have, I think, 200, 300 single tinctures where people can come in and they can custom blend whatever they want.
Oh,
But then we also,
wow.
yeah, then we also have like blends, like if you're, you need to sleep, like we have our sweet slumber blend that's already created. And then we have teas and tinctures and salves and oils and like pretty much anything you can dream up. Like, we make an exclusive line for
That's
the herb shop.
dope. That's dope. So
Yeah.
I could come in there and be like, "Yo, but I want a grape flavored one. Can you make it grape flavored?"
I can't make a grape flavored, unfortunately,
Oh, oh.
but I could probably do some like lemon or some orange, as far as
Okay.
like keeping
Citrus
the
is
orange
okay.
peel. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
like that's it's kind of a challenging part with herbal medicine, is that it's kind of an acquired palate. Like, a lot of herbs are very bitter, and folks are like, I don't know if I can take that. So I feel like when we're making recipes at the shop, we're also thinking about that flavor profile that goes into it. Like, there's so many
Yeah.
plants that taste delicious. Like, cinnamon is super medicinal, and it also tastes pretty good. Or maybe clove, or like I said, orange
Yeah.
peel or lemon peel. Like, we're not using any artificial flavorings by any means. Like, we're working
Good for
specifically
you.
with like what those plants
That's
have.
what
And
it tastes like. Yeah, that's
yeah,
'cause part of the taste is part of the medicine too, you know what I mean? It's going
yeah,
through those different senses through your nose and your mouth and everything else. Like,
absolutely.
it's not just
And
through your gut, you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
breathing that in while you're chewing it is medicine too, so
I mean, your gut health is like one of the most important things. And again, that's something we talk about a lot at the shop is like, okay, so like you're bloated or maybe you have a headache or, like whatever it is, like gut health is like the perfect place to start. It's your gut is known as
Yeah.
your first brain, and that is for a reason. So,
Yes, dude, and that's man, that's what I was gonna say too, is I came out when I was in Portland, I drank a lot of good beers and a lot of homies would be like, "Why are you drinking that?" I'm like, "'Cause it tastes good." You know what I
yeah.
mean? But it's like, I started, like, another vodka phase around 4 or 5 months ago, and my plumbing is so much better now, dude, like,
Yeah.
it
Move
just
hard.
like the yeah, and it's like, I love that bitter taste that you were talking about certain herbs, but it's just like, man, it was really bad on my guts, man, and now it's like,
Yeah.
it's not and I don't go to the bathroom as much either, like, while I'm drinking it, so it's just I don't know, it's weird to pay attention to
And
your
I
body,
think that I
and
have a hard
I'm
time with
not saying
being
drink vodka instead of beer, both
right.
alcohols are poison, you know what I mean?
Just
Because
cleanse your liver, cleanse your liver.
well, dude, yeah, it's just yeah, I noticed that, just because something tastes good doesn't mean it's good for you,
Right.
but also
Well, a
pay
beer
attention
has
to
a
to how you react, how does your body react to what you're consuming, you know?
yeah, and beer has so much gluten in them, and so many of us have issues with gluten. That does not necessarily mean like you're celiac, but
Yeah,
it causes it's one of the biggest groups that causes inflammation in the body. So like if you're
yeah,
bloated or you're like, man,
I tell moms it's not gluten, it's glyphosate, you know what I mean? I'm like, all of that shit, and when it got harvested, it got sprayed with glyphosate, like, it
it
got
could be.
drenched, and it made it easier to harvest. It's not gluten. They made that up for you to, to not see what the actual issue is. It's like that pesticide kills the stomach of the bug, and it was
Oh
sprayed
yeah,
on that. It's killing the stomach of your kid the same way, even after it's been
yeah,
processed in the flour,
absolutely.
you know what I mean?
Well, and I
And
think that's where we like dive into like organic foods and things like that, like it's
yeah.
it's it's a life process. Like we were all again programmed to like, all right, I'm gonna go to the store and get my box of brownies and make brownies. Like, no, like make it from scratch and like learn what's in each of those ingredients. Like you don't need all that processed stuff and you can make way better food, super delicious. It doesn't take that much longer either.
Yeah, dude, even as a cannabis guy too, it's like I'm trained to, create this solution from these bottled products and then pH the water and then pH the plant and make sure everything matches and do all this real, sciencey shit, you know what I mean? And it's like,
Mhm.
once I started learning how to make soil and I started reading about that, it's like, "No, I don't even have to pour newts. I don't even have to pH water, dude. It's like I can just make this tea once a week and pour it on the plants." And dude, with
Yeah.
the first summer I did it, I fucking crushed, yo, like, it was the best shit ever, the labs and everything, I was just like, "Oh, I'm the man right
Yeah.
now." And the amount of money that I saved and time was just
Oh, I bet.
dude, it just, I just was a believer after that, so whenever I'd meet someone like you in the future, it would be like, I gotta ask them questions because all of this shit is relevant to what I'm doing, you know?
It is, like it really is. I mean, we're, starting to look at bringing CBD into our product line and like all
Tight.
of our plants, like we're like, all right, like, where did this plant come from? And like what like we want to make sure it's like sustainably grown or organic or wild crafted, like we want to
Yeah.
know all the things about that. Well, I want the same
Oh,
thing for that CBD,
man.
you know?
Dude, yeah, if I can, I gotta recommend a guy. We had him on the show twice. His name is Josh Galbraith. He's on Facebook. He has a hemp farm. He crushed it last year. He's gonna crush it again this year, but he also has these vending machines.
What?
Uh, yeah, and it's like a touch screen. You can put your logo or, package it however you want, but you can
Uh-huh.
fill it whenever you need to, and you have products that you can do. I feel like even if you don't just put CBD products, whatever your top selling ones are, that the people who are afraid to come to the store and interact with a human, it's like,
Mhm.
"Yo, dude, you can go to the vending machine right there, and we have those, and you can touch the buttons." You can even there's a wipe if you wanna wipe it down before you touch it just so you feel safe, you know what I mean? So
That's so crazy. Like I have to see this.
yeah, I'll hit him up. He's doing all kinds of stuff, but he left a cannabis job. The first time we interviewed him, it was the first episode of the show last year,
Oh,
and
nice.
then he was at this place called Kaya Shack. I think they have, like, 4 or 5 locations in Oregon, so real big
Okay.
retail kinda giant, he left that job in the summer to go and do a hemp farm, yo. And I was just like,
Wow.
oh, I'm like, dude, you are the man. Can we have you back on the show to talk about that? And it was cool. He's real sharp dude too, and he's there in Oregon. But if you're gonna do CBD, you're in the perfect place. Also, like there's so many hemp farms, there's so many awesome flavors, and there's like different labs that you can basically shop for. It's like, nah, these are the percentages. How many tons of this do you have? You know what I mean? You could literally buy a ton and process it
There's
however you
so much
want into.
CBD right now. I mean,
Yeah,
there's so much cannabis in general, like it's it's interesting to see like the overabundance of it and like what all it's going into and be like, like I don't know if that like necessarily is the right place for CBD versus like the hype of it, like let's like
yeah,
actually use it for what it's good for. And so that's
yeah. And
interesting to
and
watch.
a lot of people would ask me when I was in AZ because I had my card, my medical cannabis card for the first year I was down there, and I was doing some farmers market type stuff, and folks would ask me CBD questions too because one of the strains I had was 4% CBD in there or something, and they're like, man, what about all these gummies and stuff? I was like, dude, can you talk to the person who's selling it to you and ask them where it was made or where the hemp was sourced or if it was sourced from hemp? And he's like,
Yeah.
"Nah," and I'm like, "Then don't buy it," because
Right.
there's no fucking way of you knowing that, dude. There's no regulation of that product to say that that's even 10 milligrams in there, bro, like.
Right. Well, and I think it's really important to know that and how it's processed. Like, for me again, like I want that flower. Like I want fresh flower to go into my herbs blends. I don't want isolate powder. I don't want distillate. Like I know you can get stronger milligrams with those type of things, but that's
"No, you want the raw, man."
yeah,
Yeah.
and you're losing so much of that plant when it goes into this processed phase that like why I
Yeah.
mean if I'm gonna go buy organic, kale or whatever, like why would I like go buy isolate powder for my CBD? Like give me the flower.
Yeah, man, and that's another story I got. My homegirl, Catherine, she was at 50 Trees for a while, and then she got a job at that Wild Gummies company.
Mm-hmm.
And when Wild switched from sourcing their CBD gummies from, cannabis CBD to hemp isolate, she quit. Like, she turned in her 2 weeks and was like, "Fuck you guys,
Yeah.
that's fucking whack. Like, you guys don't even know where this came from at all, and it's not even tested at all, and you're
No
still putting it
idea.
in your gummies and selling it." You know what I mean?
Yes. And I mean, I agree. Like, if you're going to be like the Walmart of CBD, then great, more power to you. But like, that's not who I am. Like, that's not what I want my company to represent. And, again, like, I don't think that having a super strong milligram of CBD is as important as bringing in other plants that have a symbiotic relationship together and like the effects that you're going to get from that. That's amazing, versus like, yep, cool, I got 1,000 milligrams of this. And you're like, well, what else is it gonna do? Like, you might as well take a pharmaceutical if you're just like, throwing something in your body that you don't know what it is.
Yeah. Can I jump back to your story?
Yeah.
You became partner in 2014, and then what was
Yep.
the process like that becoming owner of the store? Like, can you talk
Yeah.
about that? Because
So
that's I want people to hear this because it's like, nah, it doesn't just fucking happen, dude. Like
no, it was definitely
you
a
put your
lot of
life
work.
work into
And
it.
I was able to take my design background again and design the shop. And, I was basically our general contractor and our designer and, started working on graphic designs as well as like, okay, I'm an herbalist and I need to know all these herbs and have consultations for people. And so, it was a mad dash of like opening up the Mississippi location in 2014. And then in 2016, we decided to go our separate ways. And so I just took over the Mississippi location and kept the Herb Shop name and brand. And then over the last 4 years since then, like we've completely redone our product line, which feels great. I mean, and we had great products before. It wasn't like a matter of that, but it was a matter of like, these are
It's
not my recipes. Like, like I want to be
yeah,
able to know 100% like what's going on with each of these.
it's
And I also
DIY now,
yeah, and
and
I also felt like it was super important to like collaborate with my staff, like I've got all these people that are just like craving the knowledge, and so many creative minds. And I felt like, as a collaboration, we can create this awesome product line that is not only, medicinal with like maybe a dash of like, we do mainly Western herbalism, but, maybe we want to learn a little bit from Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic medicine, or like maybe we want to bring some astrology into this. I don't know, like there's so
Yeah.
many facets that just me, I can't come up with all of those things. But having an awesome crew of people that are all putting our brains together, I feel like it has just made our line exceptional because of that, like,
Yeah, I feel like those guys who grow outdoors, who plant on the moon cycle and shit too, I feel like they do, they're onto something, you know what I mean? Like that
we're utilizing nature for like the gifts that it gives to us. And that's that's sacred medicine that has been, passed down again from generation, from lineage to lineage, from, ancestors to ancestors. And that is a very special thing to get to be a part of, because, as an herbalist, as a business owner, you know, all the things.
Yeah, yeah, dude. Can we go like 5 or 10 minutes over? Are you in a rush? You have to do something at 9 or anything?
Nope, we're good.
Okay, okay, cool. So 2016, you it became
Mhm.
your store. Since then,
Yep.
you've been on the up and up, right? It's just been doing better and better.
It has, it's been, we completely remodeled and have been, in the process of redoing our product line. And, it's been a really nice, like steady growth, which is awesome, in a business, like you don't want those peaks and valleys. Like you want to be like, cool, I know that we're gonna do like about 20% more this month than we did last year, like that feels good. That gives you a really solid place to kind of start with and plan from and be like, all right, what's my budget, and as a business
Yeah,
owner and just me personally, like I love that. I crave stability like in all aspects of life.
yeah.
So being able to have that has been really great. And
Fuck
our
yeah, way to go, Amanda. I'm
our
proud of you,
community
kid. I'm proud of
vision.
you, man. For
Thanks.
real. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
tight. So like before I had you on the show too, I know that you wanted to talk about it a little bit, and I didn't want to censor you. I was like, no, I want to talk about your story. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
can you talk at least just a little bit about how the Rona has affected your business and how long you've had to
Oh yeah.
stay closed and did all your employees say fuck you, I'm staying on unemployment or like what I don't like can you talk
It
about
is
that?
been,
I don't wanna put words in your mouth, like, can you give us a
yeah,
couple minute
totally.
spiel
No,
on that?
it has been a whirlwind. I'll say that. We're every minute for a while. It felt like things were changing so quickly. Like I went from, oh my gosh, like this is serious, to like, my staff all being like, this is serious, and like full on like panic mode,
Yeah,
to like, okay, now we have to close our doors tomorrow to the public. Like, what the heck does that mean or look like? And having to completely change our operations from being a brick and mortar retail store where people come in and talk to us, to like
yeah.
people placing all their orders online. We do deliveries, like you can come pick it up.
Drive through in the back alley, just drive
Yeah,
through the
no,
back alley.
seriously, like that back alley, I'm like, I'm just gonna put a sign up back there, like, we'll just bring it out to
Whoa.
you, And, so it's been crazy. I mean, I feel like we had to close our doors on March 16th to the public, and then we reopened back to the public, I think on May 15th, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So we're like about a month into it. We were in like phase zero, whatever the heck that means.
Yeah,
And
fuck
so
Kate Brown, man, I'm just not a fan of her. I post
it's
this online and nobody likes it, but I say, "When did Oregon become a totalitarian dictatorship, man?"
It's been crazy. It's been, the second we think that things are stable and we're like, all right, we kind of found our groove a little bit, then they're like, all right, open your doors back up. And we're like, what? Like, oh my gosh, And I mean, the week before we had to close our doors down, well, really like the 2 weeks before, our sales like doubled, tripled, and we were like, oh my gosh, like how are we going to keep up with all of this? And then
Yeah,
like, of course we closed our doors and there was like a learning curve with that as well. And we've done a crowdfunder with another herb shop here in town that we're like trying to raise money together as a unified, unit. And that's been really beautiful. The outreach from the community has been amazing. I mean, I can't even like into words like how grateful I am for every person that's called and emailed and donated and just like really been there for us. And like, you're important in this community, and like, your shop
Yeah,
needs to be here and needs to be open. And it goes back a lot to the fact that the herb shop is a safe space. It is a space where people can come to, and whether or not they buy anything at all, like it is a space where people
you
can
can
come and
come
just like
learn something.
express. Yeah,
Eh,
like they can come express their emotions, they can come and express their curiosity, they can come and express really anything that is on their mind, and it's okay. Like, we're there to like listen and to try to help guide as best as we can and whatever
I got
capacity
this
we have
tea,
to.
man. It sound like you're in a bad mood, but I got this tea, man,
Yeah,
you know?
you know, just have a little uplifting, right? That's all we need. So
Well,
yeah, I
man,
mean, if we hear
I
like, oh, sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
my bad. I don't know, but I'd imagine too that in Portland, some of that fear is real, and some of those people really don't want to take some sort of pill or vaccine that's being sold to them on the internet, but they'd holler at you
Absolutely.
to say, "Hey,
Yeah.
what kind of products can I take to make sure that my systems are go, for healthiness?" So,
Yeah.
if I
Well,
was
and
that guy,
listen,
can you answer that question? Like, is there, 'cause
yeah.
I imagine your sales are probably ticking up too since you opened back
Yeah, it's
up, 'cause
starting to slowly like go back up a little bit. Like, our online sales are still like currently our main income coming in right now. Like, the foot traffic is starting to come in, and we're only allowing two people in the shop at a time. So that's really interesting. And we have a sanitation station with gloves and masks and all that kind of stuff. And so it's a process. It's really hard to work with a mask on, and so we're trying
fuck
to
yeah.
maneuver through all of that. And I mean, my heart goes
I
out to all the people that work in restaurants that are having to do this now, and I'm just like, "Oh, man,
yeah.
that's so much, so much."
The
So,
people who work at Costco look at me like they love me, but they're pissed off at me at the same time because I wear the mask to walk through the door, and then I take it off, and then I go and buy the groceries for someone, and then when
that's
I'm rolling
great.
through the line, the person checking out, you can see they're happy, like, "Alright, this guy's cool," but then they're like, "Fuck, I wish I could do that," and it's
Yeah. Well, we see these waves of things that happen, like, as on a large scale. Like right now, like everybody's coming to us for stress release, and everybody's coming to us for like protection herbs, and like we're seeing lots and lots of that. And so we see these waves of things. Like at the beginning of it, everybody wanted everything that was immune boosting. Like, what can I do? And now, it's evolved into like we still want immune boosting, but really what we need right now is like stress relief and like protection. Like, I have this one customer, and he's lovely, and he comes in often, and he just came in a full panic the other day and was just like, I just need protection. Like, I'm being attacked, like
yeah.
emotionally, physically, energetically, or whatever. He's like, I need like something that's going to help protect me. And seeing that level of stress and anxiety, over and over and over again in customers is like, I'm so glad that we're here and that we can, try to offer you something that may be beneficial to help you through this.
Yeah, man, because it is. It's the way that the world is. It's all the systems that are in place to keep us enforced and enslaved, and that's what makes people feel that way. And it is. It's like it's because you're not doing all these things that you used to do 200 years ago that you're feeling that way.
Right.
So here's one thing you can do that's from 200 years ago that's gonna benefit your body at least, and
Yeah. And like,
hopefully
why
make you
would
feel
you not?
better.
Like, it amazes me to this day and probably for the rest of my life. Like, I'm just baffled at how plants all across the world and all cultures have used plants as medicine. And I don't, not to say that all pharmaceuticals are bad or that you won't need a hospital at certain times, but
Yeah.
I think that if your day to day is more like filling your body with things that are good for you, then you don't need that pill that's gonna also like destroy your kidneys and your livers, and like you might like have nightmares for the rest of your life or whatever. Like, oh, like let's just like get you some nettles. So
Yeah. No doubt. Yeah, there's an easier solution. They got it at the Herb Shop PDX, man.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so can I ask you one cookie cutter question before we wrap? I forgot to ask Smurf this last week, but I try to ask it to all the business owner homies.
Yeah.
There's 2 sides to this question. The first side is the good side, is what do you feel was your best move, on the path to where you're at right now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think my best move was just literally trusting my instinct and actually doing it, like moving across country, like having my whole family think I was crazy because I was going to go learn about plant medicine instead of designing buildings. Like, why would you do that? And just being like, no, like, I can't tell you exactly why I have to do this. I just know that I have to do this. And so, I mean, if I could tell anybody anything right now, like, trust your gut, trust your intuition. Don't like let that little voice in your head, don't think it's just like straying you the wrong way. If you get these messages over and over and over again that you should be doing something, or like all arrows point this way, like go that way, like
Yeah,
be led
dude.
astray.
Yeah, that's my new phrase too for the homies is you're not mentally ill, you're superhuman.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
trust that voice, man,
oh yeah, and I could
you
definitely go
know?
on and on about that as far as, what is mental health, and, is that actually something that we just don't understand? So our society has put a label
I
on it,
agree.
and,
I agree.
yeah, instead of like,
A diagnosis to put people in jail or on pills, you know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. Let's make our whole society zombies and then we can control them. So,
Yeah, and that's what's happening, man. Homies
it-
are on Xans and Oxytens and perks and all this shit, man.
yeah.
And I'm my one 2 of my cousins are in treatment right now for opiates, and
Well,
they're graduating soon, like, within the next couple of weeks. So
good.
shout out to Lil Bubba and shout out to cousin Mike.
That's
I'm proud of you
awesome.
guys if you're listening, you know what I mean? 'Cause, they took the steps in order to heal themselves
And those
and
drugs are no joke.
remove those things from their life because it wasn't good for them and they weren't
Yeah.
turning into something
And
that they
that's
didn't wanna
awesome.
be.
And I feel like most of our society is hooked on something like that. And it's so sad to
Yeah.
watch. And then, yeah, then we've got, family and friends that are losing their lives, or, losing their jobs or whatever it is, because they can't function because of that addiction. And,
Yeah. Okay, so, the other side of that question, the other side of the coin is the bad side. What do you
yes,
feel is your biggest, mistake or your biggest fuck up on along the road, you know what I mean? Because it's all, sunshine and rainbows, on the podcast usually, but it's like, the bad shit that happened is relevant too. We talk a little bit about, fucking up growing outside, but it's like, there's other stuff too, sometimes it's like, "Fuck, I didn't realize that," and I lost so much. If I would have handled that earlier, I would have been much better off.
yeah, and I think again kind of falls into intuition. Like there were definitely some like warning signs early on with my business partner and things like that, but I wanted it so bad, like I wanted
Yeah.
it so bad. And it's
Oh, I feel you, dude. I feel you.
and
Man, same
again,
thing
I'm
with my farm in 2016. I can relate, dude. It's
just
like,
like, I'm gonna
fuck,
fight
I
this.
don't
I'm gonna
care.
fight it. I'm gonna keep doing this and pushing through. And that person was a mentor to me, and I did learn a lot. But I learned a lot of really hard lessons that I may or may not have learned without her. But it was very challenging. It's hard always to have a partner, a business partner. It's a lesson in learning to communicate and to be able to do that in an effective way so that you can move forward. And so, hard part of all of this was definitely like that struggle to know that I can do this on my own, and that I have the knowledge in me, and that I have the drive to continue when I don't know. Like even going through all this coronavirus stuff, it's like, oh man, like what the heck did we just step into? And it felt so chaotic for a while, but I just had to like take one step at a time. My staff is freaking amazing. Like they all just like hopped in, and I had a couple of folks that are like have immune system deficiencies, and they're like, I feel like I need to back up, and I'm like, that's fine, like so
Yeah, yeah. What can you do that? Pretend I'm that guy. Pretend I'm like, yo, I'm afraid. I'm scared. Can you give me something? What would you sell me?
if you were afraid and scared, I'd probably give
Like, no,
you
of the coronavirus. Say it was like, "Oh,
uh,
man, I had whooping cough when I was a kid," or, I'm just giving you
yeah,
whatever, make
I
up a
mean,
story.
I
It's like,
think that the thing
what general product would you give me and be like,
yeah,
"Yo, this is
like
for this, and you should feel better and safer after taking that."
totally. I think again, it goes into food as medicine. Like one of my all-time favorite things for like cold, flu, immune system is fire cider. And it's a vinegar infusion that has like cayenne and garlic and horseradish and orange and lemon and rosemary. All these things are going to boost the immune system and give you a large dose of vitamin C. And so, like, that's been kind of one of my big go tos when somebody's like, I just want to continually boost my system. I'm like, eat more garlic and put fire cider in your stuff, like take a shot of
Word.
this every day or like
And
marinate
you
your
sell
chicken
that?
in it.
You make it and sell it in your store?
We do. Yeah, we do.
Tight.
Yeah, and
Fire
fire
cider,
cider,
ladies and gentlemen, fire cider.
yeah, fire cider is awesome. If you don't like spicy, you may have a little bit of, maybe use it in your foods and it's a little easier to take. But it is vinegar. So vinegar is really hard on some people as far as like the palate
Don't
goes.
taste great. Don't taste great,
Yeah, but maybe
man,
just saute or not saute, but marinate some of your cucumbers in there, and it's like a pickle, a spicy pickle, and it's delicious. So
word.
yeah,
I like hot mix, man. Hot mix is dope. I like that
it's
shit.
good. Fire cider is cool, and it's got a really long history too. I mean, there actually was just this huge lawsuit for 5 years because there were some folks that were trying to trademark, fire
The
cider itself.
recipe?
Yeah,
Ah,
well, not even the recipe, the word fire cider, they were trying to trademark it, and they started attacking all these small herbalists and saying that they're gonna take them to court, and long story short, there's some really amazing herbalists out there that fought for 5 years to make it so that fire cider is a generic term so that anybody that makes fire cider can, call it fire cider. Like, ours is called fire elixir right now because we weren't allowed to call it fire cider, and so kind
that's a
of,
fucking way cooler name anyway, man. That sounds like some Chrono Trigger, right, Mitch? Elixir, fire elixir. Wasn't that some
yeah,
some shit you
fire
could buy
elixir.
to heal yourself or something? Yeah,
Yeah,
man, like, that's
totally. So, but
yeah.
you can definitely take some time and research that because it is a really cool story and like the history of it's amazing.
Okay, cool. With the man, we're an hour and 10 minutes in, Amanda. I know my guys have to go home to their fams and stuff too. So, can is there any these are my wrap-up questions, all right? Are there any before you share and plug your social media, are there any ideas or concepts that you would like to promote for the future? To anybody who might be listening, cannabis person, music person, entertainment person, whoever.
Totally. I mean, I think just like stick with your passion and, really empower yourself. I think those are two things that are really important. Whether you're empowering yourself through food, through medicine, through music, whatever it is, like the knowledge that you deserve to have out there. Like, don't just listen to what the media is saying. Like, really dive in to empowering yourself so that you can make the best educated decision based on whatever it is that you're trying to make that decision on. And always follow your gut. Always follow your intuition. The more you listen to it, the more you can deny it. So because
No
it's just
doubt.
there.
Yeah, man. Best advice ever, Amanda Furbee.
Oh, thanks.
We appreciate you coming on the show. It's been a really awesome interview. Can you plug your social media?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. It should be the Herb Shop Mississippi and THS Mississippi for those. And so you should be able to follow us on that. We've got tons of great content.
And
Also do a one.
it's shop with 2 P's and an E, right?
That's right. It's two P's and an E. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
And so we're the Herb Shop and we're off of North Mississippi. And so we put out lots of content each month in our monthly newsletter. We teach lots of online classes. Well, we're shifting to online. We've taught lots of in-house classes until now. So follow
Yeah.
us and, learn from what we have to share. Like that's what we're here for.
Yeah, any kind of questions you got for us, homegirl, too, like, about, creating video stuff or editing software, anything, like, we got we've done a lot of stuff too, so anything we can do to help, please just hit us up, man, like,
Thank you. And thanks for having me on here. This has been fun.
oh, yeah, man, super dope interview. I can't wait to Imma send this link to my sister tomorrow and, be like,
Oh,
"Yo, check this out." Like, I talk about you in there, man, somewhere in the middle, so Yeah.
and always like reach out. Like I know that it's sometimes scary to think about our health and like what is available and what's not available. And like the best thing I can say is like don't be afraid to reach out and ask those questions. Like that's what we're here for is to help you like help educate yourself on that.
No doubt. That's what I tell any folks listening to is really check out their online content. There is a lots to learn about not just what to buy, but what to make yourself that you have,
Yeah. And
locally.
I think
So
that
it's
goes into empowering yourself. Like that's why I do lots of free blog recipes and that's why I'm doing like these free videos on Friday. Like I want people to be like, oh, I can do that. Like I can go get those dandelions out of my backyard. I don't have to mow
y-
those.
yeah. Where can folks sign up for your email list, or how can they receive that class? Where can they go for that?
Yeah, if you go to the website, it's the herbshoppedx.com. There's a pop-up on there and you can sign up on there and you'll get a coupon also for signing up for first time, folks that are getting into the newsletter. So we gotta put out content once a month and lots of good
Dope.
recipes. Yeah,
Yeah, the Herb Shop. That's TheHerbShoppe.com. Correct?
PDX.com.
PDX.com. Fuck, my bad.
PDX.com.
Shit. Yeah, yeah,
That's all
yeah.
right.
My bad. The Herb Shop PV, the Herb Shop PDX.com. But the shop has two P's and an E, ladies and gentlemen. You
That's right.
you know what
Mhm.
I'm saying, y'all.
I got
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. But, man, thanks for coming on the show. That's her social media. When I get the links, I will send them to you. The YouTube should be up immediately afterwards, but I think the other ones we're on Apple, Google, Stitcher, and Spotify right now. So,
Oh,
when I get those links, I will send them to you.
that's
And
great.
then maybe, yeah, if anybody wants to hear your interview, then they can check
Yeah.
that out on
I gotta
whatever they
figure out
listen
how to
to.
put those into the interwebs.
Well,
So,
yeah, because I think you probably got podcast homies, you know what I mean? So it's like, "Man, check
definitely,
this one out."
definitely.
Yeah, we
Everybody loves
appreciate it, but
podcasts.
same, man, same, yeah, I'm a fan. I gotta, yeah, be into what I'm into, you know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna do my outro dance. This was the 62nd episode of Concerned Dabs podcast. I was your host, Katie M. Kane. Our guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Amanda Furbee from the Herb Shop PDX. You can hit up her website at theherbshoppedx.com. Get yourself right, get yourself educated, get yourself healthy. Um, a whole bunch of knowledge to be learned about how to take care of yourself and your body, especially in these times where concerns about health are so high. I also got to give a shout out to my guys in production, Mitchell Wilson and Jesse Curry. This has been a Main Node and Joseph Street Enterprise production.
Woohoo.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah, no
Mhm.
doubt, man. Good show, you guys. Like, man, for real. I feel like it was a good interview. And I don't think we spread any fear or paranoia whatsoever.
Good.
Yeah.